Hello, everyone. I thought you'd be interested in seeing what an online stock account would look like. And so, this is a live shot of my TD Ameritrade account. And I really haven't used this uh, too much in the past. A few years ago, I did buy a few shares of some stock. We'll take a look at that here in a second. And I just recently added some more money into the account because I was thinking about jumping into the market a little bit more on my own and do some buying of some uh, discounted stocks. But I haven't really done much with that. Anyways, with a TD Ameritrade account, anyone can set up an account, and you don't even have to put uh, any money in at all. So there's no minimum that's required. Obviously, if you're going to do any trading, you need to put some money in. But to set up an account, you don't have to. And they've got a great deal for any regular stock transaction. There is no commission and no fee. They do charge for mutual funds. They do charge, I believe, for ETFs, and they do charge for any type of assistance that you may need via an online broker. Um, uh, so you just need to be aware of that. But it's a pretty good deal, and you get a ton of information. And I think TD Ameritrade, from the various online brokerage sites that I've seen, is the best one. So um, here's a quick overview of my account, and give you a nice little chart. Here's where I put in that 5,000, um, and this kind of gives my overall account value. And if you want to get into the specifics of what positions I'm holding, and by that that means what stocks or bonds or mutual funds do I have, I just go up to here, click on positions, and then it gives me um, the three stocks that I own. And also, it's interesting up here. There's a little note that Apple is having a stock split on August the 31st, 4-for-1. So, and I own Apple stock, so that means that the price will be divided by four. So the number of shares that I'll own in Apple will increase by four. So right now I own four shares down here. So after August 31st, I'll own 16, but the price will be divided in, um, by 1/4. So let's take a look at kind of where I'm at. So the three stocks I have are Apple, and they all have symbols. And if you hover over that, it kind of give you a quick snapshot of the type of stock and the market that that particular stock is traded in. So Apple is traded on the Nasdaq. Then we look at Disney. It's on the New York Stock Exchange. And then CVS is also on the New York Stock Exchange. And that's a quick snapshot there. And let's take a look here. So I have 4 shares of Apple, 2 shares of Disney, 2 shares of CVS. It's the current price. Like I said, this is live. This is the change dollar wise over yesterday. This is what the market value is. That is the number of shares times the price. And then overall, um, since I invested with these three companies, kind of where I'm at overall. So my overall gain percentage for these three shares is 0.3 percent. So I think if we click that, no, that doesn't do anything. I guess that just tells us that it's down. So the current market value is 21.85. So if I take a look at Apple, this is the profile of Apple as of right now. And this gives you a ton of information. You have all these tabs here that can give you more of a breakdown of what Apple's all about. But let's just take a look at this page, which gives us just a nice profile of Apple. So previous close, so this is the amount that the stock closed at yesterday. So 450.91. Open today at 447. So the range from yesterday was from 444 to 449.93. The average volume, so how much was traded in the last 10 days on average, 48.6 million shares. This gives us a nice understanding of where we're at right now. So this gives us the 52-week range. So in the last 52 weeks, we have a range of a low of the 199.15 and a high of 457.65. And so this kind of tells us where we're at right now in relation to what's happened the last year. This is the percentage below the high. So right now, at the 450 level, we're a little bit less than 2% below the high level. This is a volatility measurement, and if you click that on, it gives you an explanation of how they determine the volatility of this of this particular stock, and this is using the average standard deviation from the average price of the stock over a 1 month or 21-day business period. So it gives us an idea of the type of volatility this particular stock has. Market cap is just the total outstanding shares multiplied times the price of $1.9 trillion. The EPS is, and we're going to be learning about this in chapter 14, but EPS is the earnings per share, which is the annual profit divided by the number of outstanding shares. So that gives us an idea of, for each share of Apple stock, how much of that are the actual earnings. And then the P/E ratio, the price to earnings ratio, is a key ratio that a lot of people use to determine the overall value of a stock. So the price to earnings ratio is the current stock price divided by the earnings per share. So the 450 divided by the earnings per share of 1316, that gives us a ratio, and it's 34. And so you say, well, so what? What is that? Well, that gives us an idea how expensive a stock is versus its earnings. So historically, the stock market, of all the stocks, the average price to earnings ratio is around 15. So the lower that ratio, the I guess you could say the more value, because your earnings are high and in relation to the actual stock price. And that's just one measurement. That doesn't mean that Apple's is a bad deal, because their price to earnings ratio is pretty high, but it is one indicator. of the value of a particular stock. So the annual dividend here is, and many stocks do provide dividends. So it's cash paid to the shareholders for the shares that they own. And so Apple is paying $3.28 per share, and that is a 0.73 yield. Um, so not a lot in dividends, percentage-wise and actual dollar-wise, is going back. So you say, okay, I've got $450 per share, but Apple's only kicking back $3.28 for each one of those shares that I have. So, and again, you can hover, I guess you have to click it, and it kind of gives you an explanation here of what this annual dividend yield is. This is when the dividends are paid. The beta, as an explanation of that, is a measure of volatility. So anything less than a 1.0 is represents that particular stock is less volatile than a market. So 1.0 is exactly what the what the market volatility is. Anything above a 1.0 beta indicates more volatility than the market. The percentage held by institutions, so 60.46% of all of Apple stock is owned by companies or institutions or various funds, as opposed to individuals. So it's about a 60-40 split, 60% owned by institutions, 40% owned by individuals. And then the percentage that investors will utilize Apple for short selling. It's very low percentage here. So what is selling short? It's kind of a neat little strategy whereby you could borrow stock from your broker at a certain price. Well, let's just do an example. So let's say that I borrow 50 shares of XYZ at $50 per share. So that's $2,500. And then I sell that stock, the 50 shares I sell for $50. So that gives me $2,500. So I have $2,500 cash in my pocket, and I'm anticipating that XYZ stock is going to drop in price. And let's say that I have a target in mind of $40. So I'm right, and it drops to 40. So I buy the 50 shares at 40. So I spend $2,000 to buy those 50 shares. I return those 50 shares back to the broker. So they're made whole. And then I end up pocketing $500 because I sold at 50 and I bought at 40, and I kept the difference. There are obviously fees for borrowing, but still, that's what a lot of folks do. So that's what selling short is all about, and this gives us an indication of what percentage, I believe, during a given month, as reported on a monthly basis, is sold short of Apple stock. And like I said, there's a ton of information that you can dig into with each and every stock. And I could go back to my profile and I could take a look at Disney and have a breakdown of that, the costs, kind of where we're at in terms of the 52-week range, volatility, how many shares outstanding, the earnings per share, no dividend, so Disney's not providing any dividend to its shareholders, volatility with the beta, and then nice little graphs. This is also kind of a neat thing. So this green indicates how this particular Disney stock is done over the last few years. Actually, it's the last 5 days. Sorry, I could do 1 day, 2 day, 3 years. And if I want to see how my Disney's doing compared to the Dow Jones Industrial Average, which is in blue, I could see it's done pretty well. If I want to see how that's done compared to the S&P and to the NASDAQ, and that's just over the last 5 days. Let's see over 1 year. Big difference, huh? Over 1 year. So the NASDAQ over the last year, it all tanked in April, but look at where it's at right now. The Disney is in black here, so it hit rock bottom probably in March, and now it's kind of inching its way back up. The Dow Jones, roller coaster ride, it's on its way up, and the same with the S&P, the Standard & Poor's 500 on its way up. Anyways, this just gives you a little snapshot of what a online stock account looks like and the tons of information that is available. So feel free to set up an account with TD Ameritrade, and don't be afraid to jump in there if you have a few extra dollars and want to jump in and purchase a few shares here and there. It's a good way to learn and to understand how the market works, and also understand how to evaluate stocks. And there are, like I said, there's a ton of information that is provided that can help you determine which way that you want to go with your investments.